something that's deeply personal, obviously, and I don't want to, minimize that. This is personal, right? This is family. This is at the end of the day a genocide against my own flesh and blood, against my own relatives, against people that look like me, against people that are me. And the only reason why I'm in the United States is because my parents were victims of this occupation in the first place. And so when people say go back home in America, I'm like, you do realize what you're saying, right? So are you going to give us the right to return or not? So it's deeply personal. When it comes to the United States, look, I've spoken about the United States government's role in erasing its victims constantly in its dirty wars. The tactics that were used in the Iraq war are the same tactics that are being used right now to erase the victims of that war. So I've spoken about this, and I've spoken about how this has transcended party. This has been through, throughout the years under Democratic and Republican administrations. At the end of the day, it's just whether or not those administrations are going to offer empty symbolic statements of condemnation towards Israel's actions or not. But at the end of the day, the United States of America has constantly provided cover, provided weaponry, provided international immunity to Israel's crimes. And so, I go back and I often think about this. I remember it was probably 8-9 years ago where the United States was condemning Israel's settlement expansions, but at the same time making sure that it vetoes any resolution in the United Nations to condemn Israel. And I think John Kerry at the time said, Israel can't be both Jewish and democratic. It's going to have to choose one.
The twilight of the Obama administration.
And that's the Biden administration is a little bit more bolder in its open pro-Israel rhetoric, right? But at the end of the day, it's been the same thing, right? So offer the statements, and you'll see that slap on the wrist. I don't even want to call it that from Anthony Blinken, but at the same time, making sure that Israel's not held accountable and making sure that we continue to fund it while it carries out these crimes. So it has been in many situations a choice between a government that openly says what it's doing or contradicts what it's doing. But at the end of the day, what it is doing is criminal. It is funding genocide. It is partaking in genocide against our people. So I've tried to be consistent in criticizing all administrations in this regard. I do think Joe Biden is probably the most Zionist democratic president, and that's
but by his own words.
By his own words, right? That we've ever had. And people say, but at least he's better than Trump. At least he's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. Look, he's launching these Islamophobia commissions, and he's talking about being welcoming to Muslims and Palestinians in the United States. I look at them with this sense of just complete disillusionment. Like, do you realize what this man is doing? Do you realize that this is potentially the greatest evil we have seen in a very long time, right? Or not even potentially. This is the greatest evil we've seen in a very long time. And he is the main party to it, because Israel could not do any of this without the United States. And so it's sort of like, at the end of the day, allowing for the masks to fall, and the masks have fallen from supposed allies and as well as outright enemies. It's just made them uglier, right? And it's made supposed allies ugly as well to many people that may have seen them as allies. But at the end of the day, this gives us, I think, an opportunity to allow Americans to interrogate the way that America does business in the world, period. Like, this is waking people up, I think, young people in particular, to the ugliness of America's foreign policy, to the way that it conducts itself in the world. Israel being the most obvious example of that ugliness. It's always funny to me when people talk about, the United States is losing the Arab Street. The United States is losing its international credibility. the United States lost its international credibility a long time ago. But if there was anything left in that account, it's gone now. No one takes the United States seriously, and for good reason. And so, if anything, the president of the United States should never be able to pontificate to the world again about, human rights and democracy and freedom when it is the greatest party to the oppression of the Palestinian people and so many more, with that same dehumanizing policy and corrupt way of existing in the global sphere today. So it's important for us, I think, to be consistent in holding all administrations accountable and saying this isn't Democratic or Republican. Unfortunately, this is the way America has been. This is America, right? This is America. And there are many issues where, we've been forced to actually hold up that mirror and say, this is America. When it comes to the role of the United States government in the global arena, this is America. You know what America is? It's a bunch of dead kids, dismembered with the worst of weapons, with absolutely no accountability, and making sure that you don't hear the stories of its victims. This is America. Gaza is America. This is what American atrocity looks like. This is what our tax dollars go to. While we're seeing this rise in homelessness and poverty and desperation in the United States, where you have a growing disparity, right, across classes, this is what America's spending its money on. This is what the government's concerning itself with, making sure that it continues to put American tax dollars in the accounts of weapons manufacturers while supplying the worst genocide that we've seen in our lifetime.